Okay, awesome. It's great to be here tonight. I'm going to give you a pretty rapid fire hardware 101. So starting a little bit about me, my name's Katherine. I started a company called ShopLocket, and we were actually an e-commerce platform specifically for hardware companies. So I'm coming at this from having looked at a lot of hardware companies. We actually sold ShopLocket about a year ago to a company called PCH International. PCH manufactures for Beats by Dre, Apple, Google, 3D Robotics, and a whole bunch of awesome companies, Irish company based in China. And we do everything from incubation, distribution, manufacturing, through supply chain management. And really, we're just on a search for the next Steve Jobs. Companies like Ringly, which is a connected ring, very similar to the Pebble, but for women to get their phone calls on their ring instead of their watch. This product is Drop. It was actually just an idea about a year ago and is actually on the shelves of Apple stores last fall. So this process can go incredibly rapidly from idea to actually being in a consumer's hand. We've interviewed hundreds of hardware entrepreneurs. This is just a snapshot of some of the ones we've interviewed on our site. And we've taken all of our learnings from interviewing all of these hardware entrepreneurs and distilled it down into this quick guide on how to launch a hardware company. If you're curious about this, you can find it on our site or talk to me later. But today, I wanted to tell you a bit more about really what's happening in hardware. It's exploding. Most of the biggest acquisitions of last year, from Oculus to Nest to Dropcam, Beats, they were all hardware acquisitions. This category is on the rise. It's where software was 10 years ago. Even Toronto and Canada as a whole is starting to see all of this come together. These are all Canadian hardware products. The Muse, the Nimi, the Mayo, they're all happening right here in Canada, and they're actually receiving a lot of the funding that's going to startups right now. So how is hardware different from software? Well, it's a very clear value exchange. It's actually much easier in hardware to get someone to give you money for what you're making. It's really has a lot of existing distribution channels. All of the stores, all of the retail outlets you see, you can actually put hardware products in those. It's ripe for disruption. Look around this room, look around your house. All of those products could one day be connected. But it's ship once. You only have one chance to get it in your customers' hands and get it right. And you still have all of the same problems you have in software. It's just adding the ones of hardware. So here are some tips for success. Do customer development. This is way more important in hardware than in software. Again, ship once. Talk to your customers. Make sure they actually want what you're making. Know your costs and don't underprice your product. Your bill of materials, how much it costs you to make your product, should be about a quarter of what you actually sell the product for. A lot of Kickstarters like to say, oh, but it's my first customers, I'll give it to them cheaper. It's almost impossible to raise your price after, and those first customers should be the most willing to give the most money for your product. Pre-orders rarely fund your operations. People think, I'm going to do a Kickstarter, it's going to fund me to live and make this product for a year. No, that's going to fund you to actually make the first products. You actually need to find alternate ways to fund your own company and your own living for the time it takes you to actually ship and get into market. And be a company, not a project. This is one of the biggest things Indiegogo says. They can tell when someone comes to them if they're going to be successful or not successful based on how they look at themselves. If you're just saying this is a project, I'm going to put it up, I'm going to see how it's going to do, you're going to be way less successful than someone who looks at it, I'm starting a company, this is step one, and it's my first market test. You'll be much more successful. So where to start? This is going to be pretty rapid fire, so you might want to check the video a little bit after. Events. There's amazing hardware events that you can go to, from We Are Wearables here to the Machine Summit, Maker Faire, SolidCon. Go to these events, get into the network. Prototyping tools. These are all almost free online. There's Upverter. You can get MakerBots in most of the tech shops in the city. The other mill is a milling machine that's, again, a desktop milling machine. Arduino, Spark, which is an easy Wi-Fi module for almost any product that you're making. Raspberry Pi, Volterra, which now prints circuit boards. The whole ecosystem is coming together. Prototyping partners, if you don't know how to do it all yourself, that's okay. There's people out there to help you, from Tech Shop to Modeler to Hack Lab here in TO, Hot Pot Factory in Toronto, and MakeWorks. There's online sourcing tools if you can't find out where to get the stuff to actually build your first prototypes. Octopart, Alibaba, SparkFun, Adafruit, all of these places together will actually help you have the stuff to make something. Accelerators, these are accelerators that really specialize in hardware, from Highway 1, which is PCH run, RG8 Accelerator, Hackcelerator, Lemnos Labs, and Y Combinator now. So I will send out more of these resources for you guys to find online. They're really things that would be super valuable if you're starting a hardware company. We're also hosting a hardware hackathon at hardwarehackathon.org, which is happening in early March. So if you actually have any sort of idea, whether you're technical or not technical, hardwarehackathon.org, early March, buy a ticket. If you use TO Tech Meetup, you can get 30% off tonight. It's going to go down to 20% off tomorrow. So hardwarehackathon.org. Thank you. Oh yeah, questions? No questions. Perfectly clear. Thank you. Yes.
How do you see 3D printing changing hardware?
I think a lot of the changes 3D printing was going to have on hardware kind of happened to the industry a little bit. I think MakerBot making it super accessible to be able to do any sort of prototyping at home, in a tech shop, that's had massive changes. I think it's going to get higher fidelity. You're going to be able to make almost shippable products from your home. But I think it's the rapid prototyping that's really going to change hardware, and we're seeing a lot of the impact of that already. Yes?
Prior to going to a hardware prototyping, how much work would you do yourself, and how much investment should you make in it?
Before you go to someone else to do your hardware prototyping? Honestly, get as far as you humanly possibly can on your own. There's no reason why you couldn't get to a working prototype, even if you have no technical background, if you put enough effort into it. I think the main jump is when you want to get to manufacturable prototype. And I would start talking to someone if you don't know how to get to a manufacturable prototype before you go on Kickstarter, before you do pre-orders, because it's going to drastically change the cost of materials. It's going to help you pick your factories. You're going to be able to know a lot more about your pricing. So get as far as you can on your own, but make sure it's designed for manufacturing before you take any money for the product. Yes?
How does the Toronto KW ecosystem compare to other hardware ecosystems?
I'd say Waterloo is world class in terms of its hardware ecosystem. Toronto is a little bit more nascent, but much more commercial in terms of how it looks at hardware. So the talent, if you're looking for developers or engineers or people that know hardware, Waterloo is a great training ground. If you're looking for people with really interesting ideas that could become cool hardware products, Toronto is probably where you might find more of those ideas. In terms of around the world, Shenzhen and Hong Kong have a really cool hardware community because it's just about manufacturing. None of the questions that they have are how do we make it, it's what should we make. Whereas here, idea, but no one knows how to make it. San Francisco, I think, is just people are sort of getting over the software wave and are looking for the next wave of cool things that haven't been done before. And that's why hardware is taken off so quickly there. Yeah, so Cambridge and also Boston, there's really interesting things happening. A lot of stuff coming out of MIT. A lot of it seems to be a little bit more on the academic side right now. But I think, those communities are going to soon, in the next year or two, be some of the cooler, actually defensible technologies as opposed to just the next connected thing.
So yeah. I'm running a hardware company and I'm looking for hardware talent. What's the best place to find people?
Come to our hackathon. Actually, we've only really had engineers and technical people register so far. So people that have ideas, we really actually need you to register. But go to hardware meetups. The We Are Wearables meetup is a good one. Talk to some of the people that I have in my slides, whether it's Upverter based here in Toronto that works only with technical people. Talk to MakeWorks, talk to HackLab TO. The IoT meetup gets a lot more technical people than the We Are Wearables one. So if that one's happening again, so yeah. Oh, that's a really, really hard question. So the question was, who have I met that I think is closest to being the next Steve Jobs? I think right now a lot of people that could have maybe gotten there have sold their companies before they would have ever gotten there. That list of acquisitions I talked about, from Oculus to Nest to Dropcam, who knows? They had amazing products, and they ended up selling their companies. So of ones that are out there right now, I'm pretty excited about Chris Anderson's 3D robotics, just because he is so committed to what he's doing, and I don't think he's just going to sell for the first offer. I think he's really out there. He's doing a drone company. And they're actually up there with another huge company out of China, and it's these two companies fighting it out in this drone battle, which is kind of awesome. But I'm curious to see what comes out of there.